Climate scientist Tom Matthews joins us now from Loughborough in the UK to talk a little more about climate change, something that has kind of fallen by the wayside in light of this pandemic. It really has not been on our minds on the way it was before, but now I think a lot of people were hoping that the pandemic and the global lockdowns would actually help the climate. But when we start seeing these massive, heat waves along with these other cold extremes on this, almost the same latitudes in Europe, it gets you thinking about climate change again. What are you getting as an indication from these temperature extremes right now?
Okay, so we should expect extremes anyway. Without any climate change, extremely hot weather has always been something that we should be concerned about. Since the climate has warmed, since the pre-industrial, we've seen around 1 degree increase in global mean temperatures. And over the last 40 years, when most of that warming has been concentrated, we've seen an approximate doubling in the frequency of dangerously hot weather worldwide. So instances like this, yes, they would have produced hot weather anyway when you get air coming up from North Africa at that time of the year. But with the warming that's gone on, it means those conditions are likely to be a bit warmer than they were and have slightly greater impacts than before. So, of course, an event like this reminds us that climate change is an ever-present threat and problem at the moment. It will still be there waiting for us after this current pandemic and the crisis around it has passed.
So when we see these, these extreme heat waves, touching further and further into Europe, what does that really make you worry about? Should we be thinking about, what's happening in northern Siberia, the ice caps melting, for example? Is that what the major issue with these heat waves are now?
Well, I mean, you touched on a few things there. Firstly, the heat is one problem, but it doesn't exist in isolation. So we have multiple other problems that occur as the climate warms, including, as you alluded to, the melting of terrestrial ice. And that raises sea levels worldwide, and it can put water supply in danger for people that rely on sort of mountain glaciers. But just going back to heat alone, the real concern for me and for many people out there working in the healthcare fields and in climate impact is the direct consequences for people's health. So extremely hot weather is a major public health concern already, and we expect it to only grow as the climate continues to warm. So the concern is for people's health and also their capacity to work. We've seen in the current crisis, we're very aware of the need to be able to get people back to work soon because of the knock-on sort of downstream consequences of having people out of the workforce. When it's too hot, people also cannot work. Labourers cannot go and work outside. Agricultural workers can't perhaps perform the duties that's required of them. So extreme heat alone is kind of a nexus challenge, and it sits amongst these other challenges that we have to simultaneously contend with from climate change.
In this extreme heat as well, combined with COVID-19 and the fact that a lot of people are under stay-at-home orders, when we're talking about the climate, and I mentioned how it's getting a bit of a break now because industries have shut down. If we go into this summer season with extreme temperatures and people are indoors blasting air conditioning, are you worried, if we're talking millions and millions of people under those circumstances, are you worried about the further effect on global warming all this could have combined?
Yeah, so I would say I'd slightly reverse it and say that where my concern is that people who may be restricted in what they can do, so cannot move outside as much, might not be so good as with coping with the extreme temperatures and heat and humidity that may be coming. The other side of this is that the increase in the use of air conditioning, that doesn't, it uses energy, but we're not really concerned about that adding to global warming this year. Just like the dip in emissions that we're seeing as the global economy has slowed, all it does is reduce the rate at which we're warming the climate. We're still warming the climate whilst the global economy is locked down. We're just warming it slower than before.
Okay.
So my concern about... Sorry, go ahead.
Tom Matthews, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to have to interrupt you there because we need to cross back live